Good evening. It is now 6:30 PM, and I'd like to call the regular Cultural Heritage Commission meeting of September 15th, 2022 to order. Before I proceed, I would like to take a moment to go over our meeting protocols for today. The South Pasadena Cultural Heritage Commission meeting scheduled on September 15th, 2022 will be conducted both in person and virtually via Zoom. To maximize public safety while still maintaining transparency and public access, the members of the public can observe the meeting via Zoom. Staff, would you please take roll call?
Commissioner Cross,
Present.
Commissioner Morris, Commissioner Thompson, Vice Chair Lopez,
Here.
Chair Gallatin.
Here,
You have quorum.
thank you. Commissioners and staff, do you have any requests for additions or revisions to tonight's agenda? If so, would you please raise your hand? Okay, seeing none, I would like a vote of the commission to proceed with approval of the agenda as submitted, if I could get a motion. Okay, we have a motion, and can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Lopez. I imagine a voice vote is fine. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay. Great. Next is the disclosure by commissioners of site visits and ex parte contact for items on today's agenda. And I'll begin with Vice Chair Lopez.
Visits, no communication.
Thank you. Commissioner Thompson. Thank you. Commissioner Morris. Thank you. And Commissioner Cross.
Drive-by, no communication.
Thank you. And I have no communication or visits to report. Now is the time for public comment on general items. In other words, items that are not specifically on tonight's agenda. Staff, did we receive any public comment in person or via Zoom for item number 1, public comment?
We do not have any in chambers or via Zoom.
All right, thank you. Then the next item on our agenda is a consent calendar item for minutes from April 15th, 2021 and June 17th, 2021. Do we have any comments or a motion to approve these two sets of minutes?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, no.
okay, we
Sorry,
have
I thought I jumped the gun.
a motion to approve by Vice Chair Lopez,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Thompson. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None?
I was absent for the second meeting.
Oh, thank you. Staff could note that. Now we are ready for tonight's first public hearing. And the first public hearing tonight is a project at 1024 Meridian Avenue. It is to construct a new 1,913 square foot, 2-story, single-family dwelling with an attached 432 square foot garage and a 1,238 square foot basement. The subject property is a non-contributor to the designated South of Mission Historic District. And staff has a report for us. Sandra?
Thank you, Chair Gallatin. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. This project is item number 4 on the agenda. The project address is 1024 Meridian Avenue, and the project number is 2426 COA. This next slide is an aerial of the property, which is outlined in blue. The subject property is bounded by El Centro Street to the north and Monterey Road to the south. To provide you with some background on why we are presenting this project before the Cultural Heritage Commission, the subject property is not a historic resource, but it is located within the designated South of Mission Historic District. The South of Mission Historic District ranges in dates from 1885 to 1937. There are 48 total properties, 42 of which are contributing and 6 of which are non-contributing. The predominant architectural style in the district is a craftsman architectural style. The subject property has a unique history. In 1922, it was constructed as a 1,000 square foot garage. in 1960, a 500-foot portion of the garage was converted into habitable space. And in 1964, LA County noted that there was 1,200 square feet of habitable space. This next slide are some subject site details. As I mentioned previously, the existing residence is noted through LA County assessors as 1,200 square feet. The lot size is 5,925 square feet. The zone is residential single family. And the architectural style is Craftsman Cottage. Next, we have the project description. The request is for a certificate of appropriateness to construct a new 1,913 square foot, two-story single-family residence, a 432 square foot attached garage, and a 1,238 square foot basement. The applicant is proposing to convert the existing single-family dwelling into an accessory dwelling unit under a separate application, which is subject to a ministerial review process and not subject to CHC review for the state of California ADU law. In this next slide, you can see the site plan. The top image highlighted in blue is the existing, and the bottom is proposed. You can see here how the placement of the existing single-family dwelling is all the way to the back of the property, and it currently has an 80-foot front yard setback. The new dwelling unit is proposed right alongside the front yard setbacks of other properties in the neighborhood. This next slide is the first floor plan. As mentioned previously, there is an attached 432 square foot garage. In the first floor plan, there is the living room, kitchen, and dining room. In the second floor plan are 4 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. And I'm sorry, and in the first floor plan, there's a half bathroom. This next image is of the basement plan. Per South Pasadena Municipal Code, the subterranean basement is not included as part of floor area ratio. As such, the proposed project meets FAR requirements. Maximum FAR is 35%, and the applicant is proposing 32.3%. This next slide is the west elevation or the front elevation. And as you can see, the architectural style is classic craftsman in a district where the predominant architectural style is Craftsman Cottage. This next slide is the east elevation or the rear elevation. The next slide is the north elevation or the side elevation. And the next slide is the west elevation, also the side elevation. And this is where the garage will be accessed. This next slide is of the roof plan. And this slide is of the neighborhood images. And you can see by the parcel map in green, you can see that all of the front yard setbacks are aligned, except for the subject property, which is outlined in blue. The subject property is not subject to the Secretary of Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties, but it is still subject to the City of South Pasadena's adopted design guidelines for enhancing existing non-historic residences. Per the guidelines, what is not required for a property that is within a historic district but is not designated historic, it is not required to be restored to its original appearance, and it is not required to imitate the appearance of the surrounding properties. What is recommended per the guidelines are new details should reflect the architectural character of the residence and the architectural vocabulary of the neighborhood. Window styles should be considered in connection with those seen historically in the neighborhood and the historic district. Windows and doors should be finished with trim elements in a manner consistent with the historic architectural styles seen in the district. As such, being that the applicant is proposing a craftsman-style home within a historic district that has an emphasis on craftsman bungalow style, staff recommends that the Cultural Heritage Commission approve the project subject to the conditions of approval. If the Cultural Heritage Commission does not agree with staff recommendation, the following options are available. Number one, the commission may approve the project with modified and/or added conditions. Number two, the commission may continue the project to address comments discussed. Or number three, the commission may deny the project. That concludes staff presentation. Staff is available to answer any questions. The applicant does not have a presentation, but is also here to answer your questions. I also would like to make note that staff did receive one public comment prior to noon today and one public comment after noon today, and you should have both of those public comments.
All right, thank you, Sandra. Well, now turn to my fellow commissioners and ask if they have any questions, either of staff or the applicant at this time. And why don't we begin with Commissioner Thompson?
I have none.
Vice Chair Lopez?
Palm trees in the front are gonna be replaced. I think they're gonna be removed, the existing ones removed and then replaced.
That's correct. They're going to be relocated.
Okay, I was trying to figure out on the drawings, I can see on the site plan, you can see a little bit of the south building. I was trying to find the front of the porch of the new structure. How is it compared to the front of the porch of the other? Are they closer to the sidewalk or not? I'm not sure if that's, I can see a little bit. It seems closer to the sidewalk.
Yes, it's the dashed line there. Right in front, there's the three pillars.
I see it here, but how does it then relate to the other?
The other two properties or the adjacent properties?
The other-
Sure.
There was a slide that showed the map, but yeah. But this is probably not necessarily to scale. So anyway, I would have asked the designer, but he's not gonna present today, so.
He's here to answer questions.
Okay,
as
so
well.
he can, maybe he answers it
Mhm.
a little bit. That's it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Cross, questions?
My question would be directed to the architect. And which is, I like the project with the exception of all of the skylights that break up the roof. And I think the skylight over the stairway is a wonderful idea, but do bedrooms really need a skylight, especially when it breaks up and possibly eliminates the possibility of putting solar panels in that area, since the sizes of solar panels are fixed? And are they really necessary in the bedrooms or to provide light to the bedrooms? And the one on the stairway was not shown, I believe. One was not shown on the roof plan or the elevation. I can't recall. That's
Okay.
that's my questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Morris. Okay, I just have a couple questions. Actually, Vice Chair Lopez asked one of my questions, which had to do with how does the proposed front yard setback in this case compare with the others on the street, or at least those shown in the slide that we have up now? And
Mhm.
maybe again, the applicant's architect can address that. I was curious, and this really doesn't play into what we're deciding, but it just piqued my curiosity about the basement. And I think you noted in your report that the basement floor area is not counted in FAR, but it is considered habitable area, isn't it? Via the
Yes.
building code?
Via the building code, that's correct.
Okay. Can you give a brief rationale as to why it's not included in FAR? Because it's below grade, is that the
That is
reason?
correct, because it's completely subterranean.
Yeah,
Our FAR definition states that the square footage is determined from exterior wall to exterior wall.
Mhm. Okay.
So because everything is subterranean,
Mhm.
there is no exterior wall.
Okay, great. And then my last question has to do with one of the public comments that came in that questioned the requirement for a garage because of the proximity of this property to the L line station. Is there anything in our code that allows for relaxation or waiver of parking requirements based on proximity to transit?
There is not currently, but because the property is going to propose an accessory dwelling unit, technically they wouldn't be required to have a parking garage.
Okay. All right, that concludes my questions. Thank you. So I believe you said the applicant is present.
Yes.
And perhaps he can come up and address the question about the front setback. Welcome, Mr. Dahl.
Thank you, commissioners, honored, esteemed commissioners. Good thoughts and comments. I always have a presentation. I'll have to talk to staff about that. I don't prepare a PowerPoint or anything. I get to them ahead of time because I like to listen and respond to your concerns and thoughts. And this has been a great project. And so thank you so much to all the staff. Starting in May of last year, this project was submitted in August last year. So a little bit over a year to get to you guys to a public hearing. So tough, and we're looking forward with all of staff's help to get through the 80 to 100 projects in backlog still. On the palm tree, I think she answered that. The neat thing, that's probably the easiest of all trees to relocate. If you've ever been to Las Vegas, they're moving those all over the place all the time. A palm tree is basically in the grass family and has a very small root ball structure. So we're hoping to move that. We'll be working with Public Works and an arborist of our own. There is, interestingly and shockingly to me, I found out recently in LA, because I love those tall palm trees. They've been around since the 20s, but they have a lifespan. And so some of these trees are getting close to the end of their lifespan. So if that's the case with this particular, there's two trees in front. One will stay, one will be relocated. If it's already close to its lifespan, it's stupid to move it, and we'll replant something as big as possible. And we'll work that out with Public Works and our arborist to make sure we do that properly. A couple of you asked on the front porch, and our staff report was just wonderful with that. Our front porch is 18 feet back, and the code requires 15 feet. So we're 3 feet further back than what the code allows for in the front. And it needs to be very open. We want to be compatible with the neighborhood and kind of blend in. Interesting that we're here with you. Other cities, this is a new home, we'd be at design review, but it's very important that for us and the community, and for you, of course, that even though this is new, that it blend in with the neighborhood. We don't, of course, want to fool the public that this is a historic home, but that it's a new home, but it's compatible. You'll notice in the drawings and the photos and the aerials that we are extremely close. Well, I should say we aren't, but the neighbor to the south is extremely close to the property line. In fact, when we did a survey, we were shocked. They're a lot closer than they really should be. And so we didn't want to have our new home too close to that. So that's why we had to move the driveway to the south. To the north of us is the driveway to the neighbor. So it's I just love it when there's driveways in between the homes, and that's critical. Nobody wants, so not only do we not want to be too close to the front, but definitely to the sides. Although it's not in your purview, interestingly, with that rear garage that we're converting into an ADU, it had a garage on the south side, and that has a flat roof. The other has the nice pitched roof. It was tough to figure out, starting with Jose last May, of which parts of this were permitted or unpermitted. But that garage actually goes across the south property line. So we decided, along with Wendy, our client, and her husband, Warren, on Zoom, to have that portion removed. It was over the property line, and you'll notice in her staff report that we have to address that and deal with that. So I wanted to let you know that portion will just be removed because it actually goes across the property line and may or may not have met code. Mr. Commissioner Cross, good comments on the skylights. And other cities, let's say, for instance, San Marino, don't allow any sort of skylight that has a dome or anything going up, and they don't want them reflective. And so our goal on those skylights, and the two of them are on the north, so of course you don't do the solar panel, it's on the north, would be on all of them. They're completely flat with a roof. They're in a dark tone, would blend in with the roof material and be as little reflective as possible. The one on the south we had to do because it is over that stairwell, and that's critical. And I think there'll be plenty of room for the solar panels around that. We can also add additional solar panels on the south facing portion of the ADU to the rear as well. So I think we'll have enough on that. The basement is an interesting comment. We love doing basements, and we try and do those whenever we can. They're quite expensive, but with a new home, it's a real opportunity, a real cost of a basement, and we're doing some right at the moment underneath existing homes. Bless these people for wanting to get more storage and everything. But with this, you can bring in and dig it with a bulldozer, just like a swimming pool, very easy, very fast. And then it's just a waterproof situation. Wendy is from the East Coast. All the homes there have basements, and it's something she grew up with and is used to. The other thing you'll notice, although it's not really on your purview, but we got to talk about all this on the inside functioning of the home. The ground floor is teeny with that garage space and everything. It's almost like a glorified apartment. I'm really pleased with the second floor. Those bedrooms are nice, but the garage is going to serve as kind of an overflow for that teeny ground level. Where do you put all your Christmas decorations? Halloween's a big thing these days. So a lot of it's going to be storage. I would imagine there could be some wine down there, and of course mechanical, the water heater, the forced air unit. There could be a hobby table. As an architect, I never want to put anything that I would deem really habitable in a basement. Let's say a bedroom. It just rubs me the wrong way. There's really strict codes on bedrooms with 2 ways out. And with a basement, that we have the second way out and then the stairway. If we were to put a basement in that northwest corner where we have the secondary way out, it would block all the rest of the basement from being able to exit 2 ways out directly. And you don't want to exit from the rest of the basement through a bedroom. So it's going to be an open storage space. If my wife had a basement, she'd love one. She'd have a sewing table in there, but it's not a place where anyone's going to live or habitate. I don't know, we're not even planning any plumbing. The other thing we've talked to the client about is we're planning for it and we want to have it as part of the approval. The last basement I got approved in South Pasadena, the client ended up not doing it once they saw the costs. And so we may be scaling that, but they're still horrendously expensive, the concrete and everything. That's about it. We want to be compatible. We want to meet all the rules and regulations. As staff said, we're meeting all the square feet numbers on that one letter you got. There was some questioning on that. The rear garage conversion into an ADU is a little bit bigger. And the way we're treating that, that's one of the reasons we're removing the attached garage, because it's just so big, so that we are limiting the usable space of that rear unit to 800 square feet, which is allowed by state law above and beyond the normal floor area ratio for any property in the state of California. We're slightly over that, I believe, by 116 square feet. So we've reduced the front home by that extra 116, so that overall we're meeting the code plus 800 square feet. So we're not asking for anything above and beyond any codes. And that's important to set a good example. When you're doing a new home, there's no excuses. You got to do it right. I'd love to answer anything else you might have or any thoughts or concerns.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dahl. I think Commissioner Thompson has a question.
I do. You have some pretty high plate heights there that aren't really in keeping with the rest of the street, right? 10-foot plates. Yeah.
Yes, they are.
But then you go with 6'8" header heights for the windows and doors. It leaves a lot of blank space on those walls. It looks disproportionate. Let's see. Also, all the brackets they're lined up nicely, but many of them fall just off halfway across one of the windows. It's not centered like would be done back 100 years ago. Just seems like it'd be easy to change. I think that was it. It is a nice project. It looks disproportionate though to me.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Thompson. Any other questions of Mr. Dahl? I have did you have another one? Go ahead.
Also, the window in the kitchen, that could be messed with a little bit. So you don't just have that nose on the face there with the two eyes above it. Isn't that a no-no from Architecture 101? It just, it doesn't look quite right.
All right. Mr. Dahl, I have a question. It's maybe a question more appropriately directed to staff. I just got a look at this public comment from a neighbor across the street. I had not seen this prior to the meeting. And I again state, that the basement is not strictly in our purview, but I want to make sure that his concern is addressed. And my question is, well, two things. You stated that your client's intent is to use the basement strictly as storage, even though it's classified as habitable space and at some point could function as such, right?
Correct. There's no intention of expanding bedrooms or having an extended family or ADU or something down there. It's overflow family storage and hobby space.
Mhm. And you kind of touched on the second question, which was, could the basement be converted to another ADU or occupied space? Well, staff, I don't think that's a possibility, right? Because they would already have the ADU in the back unless they carved out a junior ADU. Is that, yeah.
You don't have the air and light there in there, do you? If you had those sleeping spaces?
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, very good. Well, thank you for addressing those questions, and I had nothing further. So at this point, we're going to open the public hearing, and I will ask staff, were there any public comments received for this item?
There are no public comments in chambers. If any Zoom guests want to ask a question, please raise your hands. there are no questions.
Okay, thank you. Then I will close the public hearing and we'll begin commissioner discussion. And I'll ask as always, who would like to go first?
You know what I said?
Yeah, okay. Why don't we do it alphabetically? Commissioner Cross?
Does that mean I always go first?
Just this one time, mixing it up.
It's been your curse.
Uh, I expressed my concerns about the skylights and he responded appropriately to those, and I really have no other issues about it, about the project. I do appreciate the driveway going to the south, and it'll be a nice rhythm for the street. I think it's improved. Being on the north side, it put them back to back, but I do like it on the south. And I do believe that the backup space for the parking is tough, but it is what it is.
All right, thank you. Vice Chair Lopez?
Yes. So thank you for the explanations. It's all good. After I kind of also looked at the drawings, I saw that the main facade of the building is 28 feet from the sidewalk and the neighbors is 30. So that's very reasonable. So all in all, that looks good. And I like the idea of the palm trees. I was just kind of noticing that they're certainly not in the same place they used to be. So I just checking on that. I will agree, certainly agree with the commissioner's comments about the height on the second floor. It really seems that 10 feet on that second floor. We understand that, first of all, I'm sure we're way below the 35 feet maximum height, which I think is one of those things that the code should adjust, because it's really, I mean, I think a Gothic place would only be the one with high pitch roofs that would get to that point. So, but in this case, I really think a 10-foot second floor is a bit exaggerated. I mean, again, if I were building a new house, I would like to get as much as I can, but at the same time, there is certainly proportions that we need to think about. And I think 10 feet, I have 8'2". If 9 feet, 8.5 would be reasonable, I think, especially if we want to kind of, the problem with the 10 feet is that it starts to kind of get out of proportion, like the fellow commissioner indicated, and things start to kind of not look right. We understand it's not supposed to be a copy of, it's not it's not supposed to be a craftsman house, it's a more of a modern interpretation, but still, I think proportionally, I think the house could use coming down on the second floor. Even the first floor, 10 feet is a bit high. I have 9'6", which I find really nice. But again, I'm not gonna be too picky about that. The second floor, I would definitely make a point of that.
Mr.
Sorry,
Dahl,
the
did you wanna-
ground floor, if you look at the elevations, it's 10 feet floor to floor. So with a foot of
okay.
thickness, there,
Okay,
it's
so it's
9 feet on the ground
9
floor.
feet on the ground floor, and but the plate height is 10 feet on the second floor.
Portions are 8 feet over the lower roof, and then portions are 10 feet. So we have both. It's 8 and 10 mixed. And because things are just so tight, we tried to get the height, but you're right, it's 9 feet on the ground floor, but portions are 8 and 10
So I'll
upstairs.
take that back then. So the first floor it's fine. I thought it was the 10-foot, but I can see it here.
I just
9
wanted
feet.
to
So
clarify.
sorry about that.
No problem.
I see it clearly on the drawing, so it's my mistake on that. So yeah, I mean, I like the slope roofs, and so I see why he's gotten to the 10-foot plate, is to have the articulation of the roofs, have it on the other side, have the 8-foot minimum on the other side. So I don't know. I that's all I have. It's a beautiful, I think it's a great project, and it's a very smart way of tackling a very tough little situation, right? Because you end up with this garage that was converted into a house, and it's in the very back on the property, and you have this front lawn that looks odd, looks like it's like a missing tooth on the urban landscape, and now we have something kind of nice and new in the front. So it's a great solution for that tricky project. And making the back unit into an ADU is a great solution. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Morris.
I don't have a particular problem with architectural style. I think that the railings and the balconies on every elevation kind of break up that second story. So I would err on the side of what works for the homeowner. And approve the project as is. So. no issues.
Okay, thank you. And for my part, I found it to be a generally sensitively designed project. I think for me, the key mandate that our commission has in a case like this is to assure that the visual cohesiveness of the historic district is not impaired. And I think with the choice of architectural vocabulary and the placement on the lot of the house, so it is consistent with its neighbors in terms of front yard setback, really go a long way towards maintaining the visual cohesiveness of the district, even with the addition of this new house. I also agree with the comments of Commissioner Thompson regarding some of the detailing. But it's otherwise, I think, a very good design that just requires a couple minor tweaks. And with that, I think it's time to ask for a motion and a second.
I will make a motion that we approve the project as submitted. We can make the mandatory findings as well as project-specific findings. Number 2, it's appropriate to the size of the neighborhood. Finding number 5, it adds substantial new living space. And number 7, which it does not adversely affect the character of the historic district, as you mentioned. Subject to the conditions of approval. That's it.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Staff, if we could have roll call, please.
Commissioner Cross,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris, Vice Chair Lopez,
Yes.
Chair Gallatin.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Congratulations. Okay, we'll now move to our second public hearing, also on Meridian Avenue. This one is 610 Meridian, and it is a request to add 420 square foot first floor addition to the rear of an existing 1,314 square foot, one-story, single-family dwelling. And to present the staff report is Associate Planner Braulio Madrid.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for joining us this evening. Today, I will be presenting to you the Certificate of Appropriateness, project number 2450, that is located on 610 Meridian Avenue. The subject site is in the residential medium density, also known as RM zone, and has a general land use classification of medium density residential. The lot measures a total of 5,260 square feet. The property is surrounded by residential uses to the north, south, east, and west. Here we have a picture of the front of the home from Meridian Avenue. The property was originally developed in 1915 with a single-family residence. The subject site is currently legal nonconforming due to its size and is currently developed with a 1,314 square foot single-family dwelling with a detached 430 square foot two-car garage. After its original build, the existing residence went through a few modifications, such as a bedroom and bathroom addition, a garage expansion, a patio cover, window changeouts, and other minor electrical and roofing permits. The city's inventory identifies the property as a 2D California Historical Resource Status Code. The property is part of the North of Mission Historic District that is defined as the 600 to 700 block of Meridian Avenue north of Mission Street, and south of the Pasadena Freeway. The district is comprised of approximately 22 contributing properties built between 1895 and 1924. It is categorized as one-story, single-family residence designed in the early craftsman bungalow style. The application is requesting a certificate of appropriateness for the proposed 420 square foot addition located at the rear of the existing single-family home. The new addition will create a new bedroom and will add a new dining room to the home. The existing home has a total of 3 bedrooms. After the new addition, it will have 4. Here we have a plot plan with the proposed addition outlined in blue. Here's the existing floor plan of the current home. And here's the floor plan with the new proposed addition. In red, you'll be able to identify the new bedroom addition, while in blue is the dining room. Here we have the existing and proposed west elevations. The elevations on the plans are call this out as the front facade and as the east elevation. However, the elevation is actually west. As proposed, the front facade will remain the same. No modifications to the front is being proposed as part of this design review permit. The existing east elevation will be completely replaced by the new addition. The new addition will simulate the style of the existing home to best respect the historic character of the district and property. Here we have the south elevation of the existing and proposed structure. Similar to the west and east elevation, the south and north elevation were called out incorrectly. They are actually reversed in the development plans. The rear addition will simulate the existing craftsman style to respect the integrity of the home. And here we have the existing and proposed north elevations. Staff would like to make a quick correction to the plan. Sheet N2 of the development plans depicts the addition without the south-facing bay windows. This is the parking plan, which incorrectly calls out the addition. The correct site plan can be referenced in the first page of the development plans. Therefore, staff would like to recommend the Cultural Heritage Commission approve the project subject to the conditions of approval. Here in chambers, we have the designer and the property owner to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Braulio. Does anyone on the commission have questions of staff on this project? Vice Chair Lopez says no. Commissioner Thompson says no. Commissioner Morris says no. And Commissioner Cross.
So, did I hear you say that on the south side, the bay window is going away? That's at 3 feet 2 inches and it's being pushed back to the full side yard?
The correct site plan will show the bay windows at the south. So the incorrect one, unfortunately, did not identify those bay windows.
Okay. With that, what is the code requirement setback, side yard setback for that dwelling?
In this case, the property has legal non-conforming setbacks, which are allowed to be followed per the non-conforming development standards. It will follow the same setback as the existing bay windows at the front of the home.
Okay. Probably should.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Cross. I had no questions of staff at this time. And does the applicant have a presentation they'd like to make?
The applicant does not have a presentation, but is here to answer questions.
Okay, great. So we'll repeat this process, but this time for questions for the applicant. And Commissioner Cross, do you have anything for him?
No questions.
Okay. Commissioner Morris?
I'm a little bit curious about the differentiation between the new and the old, but if no one else is, I can. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I fully understand the differentiation between the new proposed edition and the existing historic.
Absolutely. And although I do have the applicant and the designer here available, this conversation has happened with staff. The differentiation will happen mainly between the new and existing materials, utilizing more modern windows, and leaving the existing original windows in place as well as the original siding. However, both the designer and the property owner are welcoming any expert opinion or suggestions on how they can better differentiate the project.
Okay, Commissioner Thompson, do you have any questions of the applicant?
Yeah, the windows are really baffling what's going on. I have no idea what the operation is. None of the operations are shown on the actual elevations. It looks like you have like unusual double hung windows that may or may not be true. Also, the headers, the trim at the headers isn't shown because that's very specific in this house, and it's probably part of the charm. You can see that on, if you drive by or at street view, you can see the headers. And the trim are really particular, and that shouldn't be dropped, shouldn't be ignored. It makes that little pop out trio of windows make sense. Otherwise, it looks kind of. Yeah, differentiation. Just because it's old or new doesn't differentiate it. You know, it has to be, you have to think about it a little more than that. You know, what materials are you going to use? How will the corners be dealt? Everybody's using hardy board, lap siding, whatever, that's fine. I guess it's more sustainable. But the corners can be rotten looking. You have to get a particular type that has a corner detail, or else it looks like crap, basically. It looks like a cheap production housing project. I think that was my notes. So I don't really understand how those double hungs work. If it's really double hung, like the window in the front, is that, if that's original, is that, is it double hung? You know, the sash is not halfway down the window. It's, you know, a quarter of the way down from the top. And it looks like sometimes it's carried through and sometimes it's not with the existing building. So
Commissioner, the photos of the existing kind of show a lot of trim around the windows that the drawings don't show.
right, I'm just saying the drawing should, right? If they're gonna build this thing.
No. So it's even the original drawings don't show kind of the trim pieces, right? The elevations show the existing ones without anything, just like
Right.
a square.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
So is that okay with you?
No,
Oh.
I think that, well, yeah, no, certainly
No,
not.
right, it's kind of like, you know, it's just, it's not complete. You know, it's gotta be complete if we're gonna build it. They have to know
Well,
what they have to build.
I don't want to interrupt you.
That's okay.
But if the drawings have that many mistakes on north and south and east and west and they pop out on the thing, I think that should be sent back to the designers and they have to it is not fair for you to have to explain it to us, and it's not fair for it to come to us in this way. Right? So that my opinion is that it should have been sent back for this to be corrected and back to us. So that for the next time, that's my personal opinion, because we're gonna approve something and now, you know, approving something with caveats is a bit funky, right? So it's we want to get it right, and this one thing is one thing, but one after the other. The elevations don't show the right trim around the windows, the existing windows, that kind of stuff. So I think we need to be a little better on that.
I can-
Thank you.
So
oh,
those
I'm
were
sorry,
just
go ahead.
kind of questions, right? We haven't done comments yet.
No, not yet.
Good.
So we're still in questions for the applicant. One question I had for the applicant also relates to windows. And again, it's a discrepancy between some of the materials presented here. In the plans on the window schedule, it indicates that the material for the new windows is wood in all cases. And in the brochure from Geldwin, it indicates that these are sand painted clad wood double hung windows. So I wanted to seek a clarification as to which one is it? Is it a clad window or is it a wood window? And perhaps when we come to the applicant's rebuttal, they can address those questions that they've heard from us. Okay, if there are no, oh, I'm sorry, sir, did you want to address them now? Okay, let me do this. Let me open the public hearing, and see if we got any public comments. So I will do that now, open the public hearing for this item. And staff, were there any public comments received for this item?
There were no public comments, and any Zoom guest have any questions, please raise your hands. We do not have any Zoom questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, sir, now I think would be the appropriate time to come up and address the commission's questions. And please identify yourself by name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Julio. I'm the designer. I apologize for the a lot of those errors on the drawings. There were some minor changes here and there, and I just didn't catch up with the changes on all the drawings. I guess I want to start with the window. We wanted to bring a natural window, but also like a high an efficiency window. So this window is kind of like a hybrid. It has like a wooden interior with like a more solid exterior that kind of like has a soft finish. So it's not so harsh as like vinyl or metal. So that's why we're trying to give this approach, the wooden interior with a smoother exterior to match the previously installed windows that, if you notice the pictures, there was window change outs previously. So we were trying to,
They look
Uh,
like vinyl.
the previous one probably are vinyl. So that's why we wanted to make this one,
What's a soft exterior made of?
well, I think it has to do with color and the feel of it. I think this window manufacturer has that approach on these windows, the natural wood and something on the outside that's a blend that's not so. Cool.
Our job is to really police what's going on the outside. We
Okay.
can't go something softer.
Okay.
We have to be specific. I'm not against clad windows.
Okay.
Because I think they have greater longevity.
Okay.
Aluminum clad especially,
Mhm.
because it's recyclable
Okay.
when 100 years from now, when they tear it out. Where vinyl is not, PVC is not.
Correct.
So we need more specifics on that.
Okay. Thank you. I do apologize for the headers and detail also. I noticed that I wasn't paying attention to so much of the detail around the window as much as the addition being allowed. And I think our first approach was to just, kind of like blend it into like, it matches the original house. And I didn't realize we should differentiate it to show the addition.
If you look in the online at what we're doing here,
Yeah.
we've been charged by the city council and the city and the town, people in the town here to uphold the Secretary of the Interior's guidelines
Mhm.
on how to protect historical properties. And if you go online there, if you can, you'll see where we're coming from.
Okay.
We're not making it up as we go.
No.
Just-
I
We're
understand.
not trying to be mean.
No, I understand. I just, thank you.
Oh, and also the operation of the windows, you do indicate the operation of the doors with
Okay.
that dashed line, that goes from the hinge side to the strike side.
Okay.
But you also need to do that on the windows.
Okay.
So there are standards, they're just, there's a conventional way to do that, like if it's a double hung, you put a little arrow up. Or if it's casement, you put a similar dash line,
Window.
on, stuff like that. So we can see what you're thinking.
I agree. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Julio. I appreciate
Right,
you
thank you.
coming up and
Thank you.
clarifying. Okay, at this point, I'm going to close the public hearing and we can begin commissioner discussion of this item.
Is it my turn? 'Cause
Sure.
You started on that side the first time. now
Yeah,
it's
you
this
know,
side.
gotta switch it up.
So, so this project is actually the scale of the project is correct, the location of the project is correct, the size, all of those big elements are correct. The one thing that is kind of missing and is missing from the drawings, and I think is missing from what you're thinking, is the details, right? So we have to be very careful with those because those are the ones that are gonna make it or break it, really, because it's a very simple house, it's a very simple location, and it's a very simple addition. So what I'm expecting, and maybe some, of course, the rest of the commissioners will be able to add to, is that we need to see the details that you have on the existing windows, on the existing drawings, because based on that is how we judge, what you're gonna do for the new ones, right? So we wanted these drawings to be a little more detailed than what they are. And some other people will speak more about the windows, but I'm more talking more about the trim around the windows and everything else. We expect, because like I said, it's a simple design, but these little trims and everything is what kind of is gonna make it kind of nice, right? In terms of the siding, I would definitely, you can put a piece of trim when the new house, the new wall and the existing wall kind of come together. You can very simply put a piece of trim and then change the size of the side so that you can differentiate from existing. I prefer something a little more than just a trim, but probably a trim is the bare minimum that I would put. I would actually make an actual architectural element with it, but that would just be me. And actually I would make it all the way around. Even on the roof, I would actually make so that they look really, but again, I'm going a little too far. It really needs to be differentiated in that way. The siding and then the detail on the windows. And that's it. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. How about you, Commissioner Morris?
I agree. And I think if you look at either the staff report or just online, you can see very clearly what the Secretary of Interior's guidelines are and the findings we have to make. And it's very clear about the differentiation and protecting the distinctive features that exist on the existing house, which Commissioner Lopez, it's rather simple. And I think you've got most of it there, but any detail and any design that's there now should be detailed in our drawings and then reflected in however you're going to treat the new addition. So it feels to me like you've got a teeny bit of work to do, but this is certainly approvable in the future, in the near future.
Thank you. Commissioner Cross.
I agree with what's been said by commissioners, and I have nothing to add at this point.
All right, thank you. And Commissioner Thompson.
I think I've made my opinion known.
Okay, great. Well, as chair, I'm kind of looking at this, shaking my head in agreement with the comments of my fellow commissioners, but also thinking about process and what next steps would be. And in a case like this, there are several ways that we can go as a commission. We could decide that this is ready for approval with the addition of some new conditions of approval to address the areas of concern. We could also remand it to the chair for a chair review to address those areas of concern. Or thirdly, we could ask that the applicant come back with a revised plan that A is complete and B reflects the areas that we've talked about tonight, especially a lot of discussion around the windows. So just kind of, I'm not saying which is the right one. I'm just laying those out as options. as we go to the next step, which will be a motion.
I would propose, in light of kind of where we find ourselves and the projects and the time that they awaited, I feel comfortable that I could review it. Any of us can review it. So
Are you recommend, and yeah, thank you,
I re-
because I think I skipped an option, and that is we could form a subcommittee to review it.
Actually, I would approve it, but have it reviewed, but it wouldn't be finalized. I'm not sure how you do this. It's approved with that a chair review would be for the final approval. So is that an option? Because I think
Well,
I've done that
typically-
before, so.
Yeah, typically in the past, when a project is recommended for approval and is a motion to approve, sometimes there are conditions added that there be a subsequent chair review for specific
Correct.
details,
Correct.
to make sure that those are executed per the wishes of the commission.
Correct. And that's what I would suggest,
Mhm.
because I think we're looking for the windows and the details
Mhm.
and these other things, but we can very easily make sure that the existing windows also drawn properly and everything else.
Right,
So I think that's something that a chair review
Mhm.
could suffice.
okay.
That's my.
Other thoughts?
I agree with you that projects have been taking a very long time and the planning department is very, very busy and I hate to kick anybody down the road.
Right.
However, I have a feeling when this designer looks at this a little more closely and looks at the guidelines that we have to follow,
Oh.
he may well change the look of this addition
Okay.
substantially. I mean, he may change the siding, he may change the windows entirely once he looks at it. And when we see the trim and the detail, it feels like, even though I hate to kick you down the road, that this is a continuation to the next meeting of ours. And when he really has his act together and the plans are correct, and he's had a chance to think through what we've talked about. I don't know how you.
Well,
guys feel.
if the chair saw that be the case, couldn't they refer it back to the commission?
Yes, I'm looking at staff, they're shaking their heads affirmatively. They could do that. I think, speaking as chair, for me, probably the greatest deciding factor in deciding, do we approve it with conditions for chair review? Or do we continue it and ask the applicant to come back? The biggest deciding factor for me is the question, was the application complete in the first place? And I think the evidence shows that it was not. And therefore that tends to sway me towards the outcome of continuation. Because it wouldn't be
There's no
logical
narrative.
to
There are a lot of things that
try and
are on the
condition something
checklist
that's
that are not,
incomplete.
Agreed.
so there's no narrative.
Yeah, and I would, yeah, and since we're talking so much about the windows, I think you should really not only draw them on the big elevations, kind of give us details of, also how all the pieces go together, right? Really give us a lot more information on the windows and their trim. I agree.
Okay,
So I make a motion to continue.
continue to our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Yeah.
Which I think is October 20th.
Yeah.
And there's the motion. Do we have a second?
I would second that motion.
Okay, staff, could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Cross,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
and Chair Gallatin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so this item is continued to the next regularly scheduled CHC meeting, which will be on Thursday, October 20th at 6:30 PM in this room. Our next public hearing item is for 1705 Diamond Avenue. And this is to add a 192 square foot second floor addition to an existing 2,044 square foot, two-story, single-family dwelling. And approaching the podium with the staff report is Associate Planner Susana Martinez.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Cultural Heritage Commission. Item number 6 on our agenda tonight is for project number 2494, Certificate of Appropriateness for the property located at 1705 Diamond Avenue. So the subject site is an irregular lot that measures approximately 10,179 square feet. And the site is located on the southwesterly corner of Diamond Avenue and Oak Street. The property is bounded by residential to the north, south, east, and west. And the subject site is developed with an existing 2,044 square foot, 2-story, single-family dwelling and a 1-car garage. The slide before you identifies the historic resource, which was built in 1914. The residence is designed in the craftsman/airplane bungalow style, which is identified by the low-pitched gable roof, the earth-toned wood shingles, the clapboard siding, chimney, wide overhang eaves, and wood windows. The applicant is requesting a certificate of appropriateness for a proposed 192 square foot addition to the second floor of the existing 2-story residence. The property is located within the residential single-family zone and is developed with an existing 2,044 square foot residence and a 196 square foot 1-car garage. The residence has undergone some modifications, and the permit history for the site identified that a permit was issued in 1973 for a 239 square foot addition and a 243 square foot alteration. The permit did not distinguish where each was proposed or the breakdown, but did identify that the permit was for a 2nd-story addition, a 1st-floor remodel of the bathroom, dining room, and family room, and an addition to the 1st floor. Additional permit history identified permits for the bathroom remodels, re-roofs, and a voluntary retrofit, and a full breakdown is provided on page 1 of the staff report. So the addition is proposed along the northerly side of the 2nd floor and a portion of the easterly facade side. The addition will add an additional bedroom on the 2nd floor and will allow the relocation and remodeling of an existing bathroom. Minor improvements are proposed to the 1st floor, which include the demolition of 2 interior walls to expand the breakfast room and create a laundry room, in addition to modifying the existing office to create a foyer area accessible from the side doors. The project complies with the development standards within the subject zone and can be found starting on page 4 of your staff report. In relation to parking, the South Pasadena Municipal Code has a requirement that residences provide a 2-car garage with a minimum interior dimension of 20 by 20 feet. Currently, the site is developed with an existing 1-car garage on the southwesterly corner of the property. Therefore, the parking is legal nonconforming. However, the South Pasadena Municipal Code also stipulates that when a proposed project is in connection with the residential unit listed in the city's cultural heritage inventory list and is non-contributing due to the number of and is non-conforming due to the number of covered parking spaces, the requirement may be waived if the Cultural Heritage Commission can determine that the circumstances and conditions under section 36.360.090 .f.1 relate to the project. Staff intended to include a determination within the staff report. However, unfortunately, it wasn't included, but we did determine that the property meets the circumstances that are stipulated within the municipal code. And according to the Sanborn map, which is included as figure 3 in your staff report, the garage is original to the property. The proposed addition is minor in scale, incorporating architectural elements that are compatible with the craftsman and airplane bungalow style. The project proposes to reutilize existing windows within the new addition, and only 2 new windows are proposed, which will be out of wood. The new floor will include a low-pitched gable roof, and the new exterior material will be a mixture of earth-toned wood shingle siding and clapboard siding as well. The slide before you identifies a site plan of the property. As you can see, the blue Area highlighted identifies the second story addition. And this slide identifies a first floor plan. So the area highlighted in yellow is where the interior modifications will take place with the demolition of the 2 partition walls. And on the right-hand side in purple, it identifies where the office will be modified to include that foyer area and the expansion of that breakfast nook. The next slide identifies the second floor plan. On the left, it identifies the existing 1-bedroom and bathroom that is currently located on the property. And on the right, it identifies the green area, which is where the addition is proposed and where the additional bedroom will be located as well. This elevation identifies the east elevation, which is from the front. So the purple highlights that extension area along that location, and the blue identifies the modification to the roof where it will be lifted to match the existing ridge, and the height will not change. This elevation is the west elevation, which is towards the rear. The purple highlighted area identifies the addition. This elevation is on the north, which is a street side, which is visible along Oak. And again, the purple identifies the new addition expansion, and the blue identifies the additional ridge on the northern facade, eastern facade. And lastly, this elevation is on the south side, which is visible to their next door neighbor, and the purple identifies that new addition. Therefore, the recommendation for this evening is that the Cultural Heritage Commission approve the project, subject to the conditions of approval.
Thank you, staff.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Susanna? And I'll begin with Commissioner Thompson. Okay. Vice Chair Lopez,
No questions.
okay, Commissioner Morris, and Commissioner Cross.
No questions.
I had one question, Susanna, and actually I spoke to Matt about this earlier today. There was an editing note that made it into the report on page 6.4 having to do with the determination that needs to be made in order to waive the parking requirement, the 2-car parking requirement. Did you have anything additional you wanted to provide the commission in terms of information about any of those 8 criteria and the ability of this project to meet them or not meet them?
No, we've identified and determined that the property would comply with that section,
Mhm.
therefore not requiring that they provide the 2 parking spaces within
Mhm.
the garage.
Okay, great. Okay, does the applicant have a presentation? I believe he does.
Good evening, Commissioners. Steve Dahl, the architect for the project. Tammy Callan, my sister's the project manager, and behind her, Daniel, the homeowner, who bought this property intending to move his family in last year. And we were going to make some interior only modifications before they moved in with their young kids. It's disruptive and everything inside. We prepared construction documents, submitted those into the city for only interior modifications. But on the ground floor, we were thinking ahead with our future modifications for the second floor that we should incorporate the structure at the time of the interior modifications of the first floor to thread that structure through. Submitted it in to the city through plan check. The city planning department at the time, none of these guys were wonderful, refused to allow it to go to the plan checker because it included work for the future second floor that wasn't included in the submittal. And that they determined, again, a different staff group, this is way last year, said that because it was on the exterior and towards the street, needed to come to a public hearing. At the time, online on the city's historic inventory of properties, this property was listed as eligible for delisting because of the massive changes and obvious addition of a new second floor to the original one-story home. So at the time we submitted for the design review board hearing, this is August last year, or recently, a month or two ago, staff determined that it would be quite an onerous process to delist this and go through that process. And by the way, Susanna brought up that if it stayed with you on the historic inventory list and with your group, we could be exempt with a one-car garage. I went, hallelujah, and let's do that. But I wanted to give you that background and context for the reason that I don't think I'd be standing in front of you wanting to modify an airplane bungalow from the front had I known that it was original. But you look at page 162 of the staff report, the new second floor. And then last year, I don't know if any of you know the structural engineer Long Tang. He happens to be the building official in Baldwin Park. Just a wonderful guy. We had the owners open up inside the home to determine where the structure was and found that that second floor structure had been obviously added. It wasn't original. And then if you look, I don't know if it was the whole thing. And this is what I just don't know. And that's why it is an unknown and it would be really tough to go through the process. So because of that, and I feel bad because the last applicant did this too, and something I never want to do is asking your opinion on something, but because we were submitting this for the DRB, we wanted to blend in and be compatible. But with you, of course, we're meeting the Secretary of the Interior guidelines. So we did show a wood siding to match on our very modest addition on the second floor. We are reusing and relocating windows. We only have 2 new windows in this whole project, and they're on the back hidden. But if you look at the front in both our elevations and the photos, the addition, the second level addition, is sunken in and oddly to the side. It's reminiscent, similar to an airplane bungalow. I wouldn't say that it is an airplane bungalow. To me, you have a front gable and the airplane pop-up, the pilot seat lines up with matching roof lines. This doesn't do this at all, and it's really off center. So what we're doing with our proposal is to center that more so that it does feel like it should be an airplane bungalow centered on the first floor and the second floor, stepping back evenly on the north and the south. We didn't want to go any further to the south. We didn't want to, we wanted to balance it, bringing it out to the north with a similar setback. On the rear and more historic, I believe, than the home is an oak tree that's just stunning. And we've brought out an arborist, a tree expert, and we're working with that tree. If you've been by the site, and I've got photos, the branches of that tree come all the way up to that second level addition. So we can't go out the back at all. So the only place we can really go out is to the north a little bit and to the front. I'm quite pleased with our addition that is obviously different from what's existing, and it matches, it reminiscence, it's respectful of the front gable by repeating a similar gable on the top and kind of tying in. I think it's better balanced. But here's the question. On our new siding, should we make it a different height than the existing? If we consider that the second level is not original, should the entire second floor be a different size, or should our addition to a previous addition be different than the addition? So that's the quandary. Other than that, I'm quite pleased with it, other than maybe adjusting the siding size. The other huge addition to the home, and I've got photos if you want to see those more up close, was the wonderful front porch on the front, wrapped all the way around the side. And that's where that very odd addition where the office is, where we're adjusting. So the only modification we're making is the second floor and on the first floor that again was a previous addition. So in no place are we touching what's actually original to this home. I wanted to point out Susanna's wonderful use of color. I don't know if you noticed that with all of her reports. it just popped so quickly what we're doing and what's happening, a real help. So thanks. So sorry about the context, but siding size on an addition to an addition. But as Commissioner Thompson brought up, was part of the second floor original and was it added on or all of it? I don't know. The portions we opened up look like it was an obvious addition, 1973, 1974 per that permit record on file. Crazy.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dahl.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions of the architect?
Actually, since I have you here, can you put the south elevation, the new and existing south on the screen? Second floor, kind of the left side of the second floor, the way the roof and the volume kind of hits on the second floor. Am I missing, are we missing a line there, or that's the way it's proposed? It looks like there's a window there, so. Oh, you don't have the second. Do you have drawings that you can look at?
Oh, there it is. Technology. It's
No, that's the, wait,
South.
over here it says, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. I read wrong. It's north elevation.
oh,
Sorry,
north
sorry about that.
elevation.
It's me. That was me. So you see the post, the window, the way the roof kind of hits the side of the is that drawn correctly? Because I think if you look at the roof plan, it shows like the same overhang going all the way around. But even here, it's not. Is this a correct representation, or is it the site plan correct? Which one? I'm sorry, the roof plan probably that shows kind of the same overhang going all the way around.
Yeah, there's the same overhang all the way around. I see what you're saying on the right in the nice colors. We don't have the overhang shown on the left,
Correct.
and it shows on the right. I'm so sorry about that. Good eye. We got to get that in there.
But so I assume the roof plan that you have the same going all the way around.
It's got to go all the way around.
So
yeah.
it's not
So
like
sorry.
this.
Yeah, not like that.
Okay, good.
I like the lavender, but yeah, not like that.
Good.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, that's it.
There is one a teeny little adjustment on the south elevation. The whole stair was bootlegged in and doesn't meet any code. That's another clue that the whole second floor was an addition. So we're doing a very slight modification of the roof on the south side, hidden behind the front. You won't see it. Kind of a little shed dormer to get some head height. There's not. I'll hit my head going up the stair on the existing stair done in 1973, 74. So I did want to point at that other one minor little modification.
Commissioner Thompson, any questions for
Right.
Mr. Dahl?
Steve, that there was a pop-up there in 1956 on the Sanborn map. They
First
showed-
time I saw the Sanborn map is today. Yeah, it shocked me. I had no idea because
I was there, right?
Yeah.
Way before the 70s. So that kind of shoots that story down. I noticed the lack of headroom over that stair. I do think if you look at that floor plan, that it was in the back that they were doing there, that they added on, if there was something added on, it wasn't much. Looks like it was added on back there. But you understand, by definition, airplane bungalow is that pop-up where it's all windows, kind of like the Gamble House with their third floor. And if you do all these roofs and all this stuff, it's nothing like an airplane, right? It is now. It's windows. And it probably
there's
was
very
with-
few windows. It's very solid all the way around right now. And it's not symmetrical. It would not fly.
It, well, who said it had to be, who said it had to be symmetrical?
Well, they are. Airplane
I
bungalows
don't
are
know
very
if that's
symmetrical.
Necessary, but.
So I
looking at
guess
plan-
we're in-
I was looking at plan. That there are 2 windows on each side, well, at least on the front and on the other side, on the north side.
I've
And
seen
I
some wonderful
Imagine
ones.
that bathroom and all that wasn't there originally.
Yeah.
I don't know how the stair worked, so that stuff, But this addition you're doing is losing all the remaining airplaneness, the cockpit. There's a defining characteristic of the airplane. If it was there in 56, it probably was there all the way back, right?
I really don't know because it's an obvious addition in the permit records
In the
and the
70s.
structure.
In the 70s, right?
Something was modified on that whole second floor. Several of the windows are boarded up. They don't even go through right now. So a lot of changes on that.
Well, you can unboard them.
Yes, we are.
So, okay, that's all I just.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Morris.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We're not getting anywhere near it. Yeah. Yeah, it's good with it. Oh, it's beautiful.
Hey, Commissioner Cross, any questions?
No questions, just one comment, which
Mhm.
is,
Thank
I
you.
wondered why you weren't going towards the rear with the construction. When I looked at your floor plan and then when I visited the site, I saw the oak tree and I go, oh. And I think the plan that you have is very nice. That's my remark for the night.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dahl, I just had a couple of questions. The first one has to do with the statement that was made about the recommendation for delisting this property. I'm looking at the Cultural Resources Inventory Survey that was done in 2015 and 2016, which has not to this date been adopted by our city council. It is. Yeah, this, right, it was presented to council in 2017 and they chose not to adopt it at that time. But for this property, it says this property was listed in the South Pasadena City Inventory of Addresses, now referred to as the South Pasadena Inventory of Cultural Resources, prior to 2015. The previous evaluation is being carried forward. This property was not reevaluated in the 2015-16 citywide survey. And the previous status code back in 2002 was 5B5. So I don't see any indication that there was a recommendation for delisting of the property. I'm glad that it wasn't delisted. I'm glad that it's still under our purview and we have an opportunity to review it tonight. So I just want to clarify that for the record. But I do have a specific architectural question for you, and that is on the north elevation, the proposed north elevation. You have two windows, one at either end of that wall, second floor wall, with quite a blank space in between. And I understand those are bedroom windows. And I understand you have to take into consideration furniture placement and things like that. But is it possible to move them closer together or alternately add two windows? Mm-hmm.
I think it's the same corner that I was talking to about before. So which
Right.
if the drawing is corrected, then I think it's gonna move the window to the right
Mm,
because I think the roof is drawn correctly,
Mhm.
but that wall is in the wrong place.
mm-hmm.
And then I think it's. the
But I'm not sure.
Roof is.
But then the roof will be higher
Just move it
and bigger, all the
Yeah.
way around. So
They would.
it's that same corner that I was
Right.
talking
Uh-huh.
about.
It's trouble all over the place. Well, to Commissioner Thompson's thought earlier of the airplane and the glass and openness, another option, instead of moving them closer, would be to add additional windows and make it more open and transparent. The airplane bungalows I love that look like they used to be sleeping porches that were infilled and
Yeah, right.
they're more glass than anything. So if anything, let's err on the side of openness and glass
You have
for me.
shear issues?
I don't think so. I think we've got enough. And then with strong walls, they're so wonderful. We don't have to do 4-foot sections of walls anymore because it's got to look right. And that's your job. And I'll make it work with the structure. I'd love to add windows rather than move them in it. There's too much wall there. To Commissioner Thompson's earlier comment, let's make this better and make it work. And the other neat thing is the grouping of the two windows and the other elevation. So if we added an additional window to each of these and had these as pairs instead of singles, it would help the whole thing.
If you look online now at that pop-up thing, they tend to be evenly spaced. It's not the normal grouping of ribbons and all that stuff like on the first.
So that's another option.
Just, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Dahl.
Thank
At
you.
this point, we will open the public hearing and I'll ask staff, were there any public comments received for this item?
There are no public comments in chambers. And if our guests on Zoom have any public comments for this item, please raise your hand. And there are no hands raised. We have no comments on, public comments on Zoom.
Okay. This is the point in the proceedings when the applicant does have the ability to give a 3-minute rebuttal. Mr. Dahl, do you want to avail yourself of that or take a pass? Okay. All right. The applicant's indicating that he has no rebuttal. So we will close the public hearing and begin commission discussion. Commissioner Morris.
Can I ask you more experienced commissioners, what is the answer to the question of, does he differentiate this edition from the previous edition or the original?
Well,
second floor,
it's
whatever
great.
it was? I mean,
Yeah,
what
that's a
is the
great
answer?
question and we didn't really
Well,
address
it's,
it yet.
I guess there's different ways to look at it. Personally, my first instinct would be to actually change the siding on the whole volume. So I would actually do shingles instead of siding, because shingles is a very typical craftsman thing, and that way it's so. But again, I'm just saying I would just match the whole because half of it, but that's me.
Well, I think when we look at the provenance of that second floor that's there now, I learned tonight that apparently there's been something up there since the 1950s. And that was added to or altered in 1973, 74. And always when we look at a historic building, we look at later alterations to see if they've taken on and acquired historic significance in their own right. Now, I cannot tell, and I don't think from Mr. Dahl's comments, he's able to tell what remains, if anything, of the original 1950s, or it might have been even earlier. It showed up on a map in the 50s. It might have been built in the 40s or 30s. Nobody's been able to determine what, if anything, remains of that. And so then, absent that evidence, you have to look at the 1973 edition, whether that has acquired historic significance in its own right, albeit only 49 years ago. So I think, you know, if I were the architect charged with solving this problem, I think I would do what Conrado was suggesting and do a replacement all the way around. And shingles are certainly an appropriate
Are there any shingles?
material.
On this? You're gonna introduce an entirely new material because other guys did it down the street.
Well, I just mentioned that as an option, but it could be a smaller siding, horizontal siding. It could be
Yeah.
that too. So it's just different options.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was original. I'm sure you can look closely and see what part is original and differentiate them.
As you're talking about shingles, with the horizontal siding that we see from the street, one technique that they use to get a horizontal look out of shingles would be a long shingle, then a short shingle.
Yeah.
And it gave that horizontal look. And that's something that Steve may want to look at.
So they line up horizontally, but then you see the little lines in between the shingles.
Right.
That's one way to do it, which is the way my house is.
Oh,
Yeah, you really look at it.
But it was gonna be half, it's gonna be a third of ultimately the second floor. So is the other 2/3
No, it's whatever they're doing would be differentiated. You,
Well-
it'll be, they can really look closely and figure out what
And
was added on.
It may be
It's just
such a subtle differentiation that
No,
from the
it's-
street.
Well,
I just wanted to bring up, because I'm supposed to be done, that there are shingles up in all the gable ends of the existing home to bring up, but I think Commissioner Thompson is
no, that's good.
is
I just
correct.
don't think we should dream up some new design.
Exactly,
You're just, the Secretary of the Interior says not to do that.
exactly.
It's just like-
You leave the siding exactly like it is, and anything we're doing new is differentiated from that, period, stop.
Okay, so then you're continuing the original design concept.
Commissioner Cross, did you have a comment?
No,
Okay. Okay, let's see here. Any further discussion?
I have a
Yes,
comment.
sir.
So if we step back a little bit and kind of look at the site and the project that we have in front of us, the triangular site is very not typical, right? So there's a very unique kind of situation, not unique only this one, but it's a unique situation. It's not the standard, which to me, that's the first note for me to be okay with not requiring you a 2-car garage. Under normal circumstances, if the code says it's a 2-car garage, it's the same to everyone, then I feel strongly that that we're making other people do it, you should do it too. But in this case, that speaks to that part of the project. The location of the tree and the fact that there is questions about how original the second floor is makes me very comfortable approving this kind of design. Because the Secretary of the Interior or whatever doesn't know that this is a triangular site with the tree in the location that we cannot add. And it's unfair to put kind of these pressures on something that is unknown on how original it is. So that's my personal opinion. So, and then I've already spoke about the siding on the second floor. I think it should match all the way around. So that's all I have. I think it's a very nice, the height is right, the volumes are nice and everything is good. So it's good to me.
Okay, and any further discussion from the commission, or are we ready to make a motion?
To move this along, I would make a motion that we approve the project as submitted, that we can make the findings. We can make the findings 2, 3, and 5, provided that there is some differentiation made on the addition to the second floor at the architect's discretion to show that it's an addition. And that we can make the finding that the non-conforming garage is original and therefore, okay, then we have to make that determination.
Yes, there were 8 criteria listed. Just a question, if I may,
Yes.
to your motion. You said differentiation at the architect's discretion. Who or what body would then be responsible for reviewing that to determine if
Oh.
it has been differentiated enough?
The architect's discretion followed by a chair review.
Okay, so we have an amended motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Lopez. Okay, staff, let's have roll call, please.
Commissioner Cross,
yes,
Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Abstain.
Vice Chair Lopez,
Yes.
Chair Gallatin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. And now we will move to our 4th and final public hearing for tonight. It is 1648 Spruce Street. It is a request for a notice of intent to demolish for partial demolition of the front facade and rear of an existing single-family dwelling and a 684 square foot detached garage. Oh, I'm sorry, did you? Regarding this project? Oh, yes, okay. Before we hear the staff report, Commissioner Morris wants to disclose a fact.
I'm not sure if this is relevant at all, but it's worth disclosing that the property owner on this particular project happens to be my next door neighbor. I'm not a next door neighbor to this property, but I'm a next door neighbor to the property owner. I don't think it has any bearing on this project, but it's worth disclosing.
Okay, we appreciate that disclosure and seeing no objection from staff. It doesn't sound like a disqualification, a disqualifying disclosure under our conflict of interest rules. So, but I do appreciate your transparency. Okay, Susanna, you're up again.
Thank you, Chair. So the last project on our agenda is for project number 2489, which is a notice of intent to demolish for the property located at 1648 Spruce Street. So the subject site is located on the northerly side of Spruce between Fair Oaks Avenue and Magnolia Avenue. And it's an irregular shaped lot that is bounded by residential to the north, south, east, and west. So the slide before you identifies at the image of the subject site, and it was developed in 1937 with a single family dwelling and a detached garage. The site is not included in the city's inventory of historic resource list, and it is a non-contributor to the eligible Juanita Park District, which is comprised of a modestly sized period revival single-family residences with a high degree of integrity. So the applicant is requesting that the Cultural Heritage Commission review and validate the findings within the Historic Resource Evaluation Report, which determined that the property is ineligible as a historic resource at either the national, state, or local level. In accordance with the city's cultural resource ordinance, any structure that is over 45 years or older that proposes a demolition and is not identified as a cultural resource requires the preparation of an intensive level historic resource evaluation. The HRE was prepared by a city-selected architectural historian consultant, Thalia West, and the HRE determined that the property was not a significant example of an architectural style, that it was not designed by a master architect. Evaluated as a non-contributor to the eligible historic district, and alterations to the structure have impacted the integrity of the design, material, and workmanship. Therefore, staff recommends that the Cultural Heritage Commission determine that the property does not meet the national, state, local criteria for historic designation, and that the project may proceed through the city's application process without any further restrictions under the Cultural Heritage Ordinance. Thank you. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have questions of staff? Commissioner Cross,
No questions.
Commissioner Morris, Commissioner Thompson, and Vice Chair Lopez.
No.
I only have a comment, and I don't know if we have present either here or virtually someone from the firm that prepared the HRE.
We do not, we only have the architect for the
Okay.
project available via Zoom.
Okay, I just wanted to point out a couple errors in their history of South Pasadena on page 8 of the HRE. In the very second paragraph, it says that Father Junipero Serra established the Mission San Gabriel Archangel several miles west of South Pasadena in 1771. That's several miles east. That was my route to work for a long time. And then down in the fourth paragraph, it states, other railroads running through South Pasadena in the late 19th century included Southern Pacific, the Union Pacific, and the Pacific Electric Railway Company. These railroads encouraged development, and by the end of 1887, the town's business district had doubled in size. Well, nice, except the Pacific Electric Railway Company wasn't formed until 1901. So just two misstatements there regarding the local history. That's all I had.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Did the applicant have a presentation?
They did not, but they are available to answer any questions.
Very good. All right, so we will ask, are there any questions of the applicant on this application? No?
I would just have one question, which here it says the garage is 684 square feet and it, I know a two-car garage is approximately 400. And this appears to be a four-car garage plus perhaps the equivalent from the photograph, another two-car garage, but it's just a door entering, it puts it around 1,000 square feet. Did you have a permit that says something different or?
No, the Sanborn map for the for this property shows that that has been there since the 1950s, if I remember correctly. So I think I actually have a slide at the very end if you want to take a look at it. Is that at the end? No. Oh. My apologies. But it is
Yeah, it's at least 800.
I think just to summarize for those that can't hear the discussion up here, Commissioners Cross and Morris are reviewing photographs of the existing garage and noting that it has two door openings for vehicular access, one of which looks like a single car opening, the other like a three-car opening. And this is a fact, but maybe not a relevant fact with regards to our determination tonight. And at this point, I'll ask, well, first, if there are no further questions of the applicant. Yeah. Okay, sir, can I ask you to hold that for a minute? So just bear with me. I need to open the public hearing next. There's no questions for the applicant. So I'm now going to open the public hearing. Staff, were there any public comments received for this item?
We do not have any comments in chambers. For any guest on Zoom, if you have any public comments for this item, please raise your hand. And we do not have any hands raised
Okay,
in Zoom.
thank you. Now would be the time for the applicant's rebuttal. So sir, if you have some more information on the garage, we'd welcome it. Can you come up to the mic, please, so we can make sure you're recorded?
There's a two-car garage, and then there's, at some point, they converted the third bay into to sort of the living quarters.
Mm-hmm.
That it's
Okay,
it's a big space.
great. I appreciate that. Okay, we will go ahead and close the public hearing now and open commission discussion. And who will lead that off? Well, I can lead it off. I mean, it was a pretty straightforward request to me. I thought, aside from the historical inaccuracies that I pointed out earlier, that the HRE was well done and thoroughly documented the history of this site and determined quite clearly that it had no national, state, or local historic relevance. And that's the whole purpose of these hearings when a request is made for demolition of a structure 45 years or older. It's to determine, does it have any historic significance that would merit its preservation? So I found the report otherwise well done, and the staff report was very well done as well. Well, again, I think I concur with the findings of the report. Others?
I agree.
I concur.
I agree.
And as such, I would make a motion that we,
Well,
is that where we are?
I
or
think
what
we're
is it?
still in discussion, and I think Commissioner Thompson was seeking additional clarification.
Are we here to judge what's important for this or whether or not we're doing all it?
Well, our responsibility, and staff, correct me if I'm wrong, in these cases is to consider all the evidence before us, both in the city staff report, in the HRE provided by the applicant and prepared by a city selected qualified preservation firm, and then to weigh that against the criteria for significance. 3 sets of criteria: National Register, California Register, and our local landmark criteria in the municipal code. And if we find, as this report did, that this particular resource meets none of those 3 criteria, then the appropriate action would be for us to recommend, or I guess recommend approval of the demolition of this structure so that they can proceed to the next step in the process. Sure sounded like one, didn't it? Yeah, okay, we'll make that a motion then. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, staff, can we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Cross,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris, Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lopez,
Yes.
and Chair Gallatin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, congratulations. Now we come to the administrative section of our agenda. Normally at this time, we would have comments from our city council liaison, council members Znaimer. However, she's not with us tonight. So we'll move on to comments from my fellow commissioners. Commissioner Cross, anything to share or report?
We received a email from, I believe, city clerk today, and there is a discussion with an author
Hmm.
who will be presenting her book apparently on names escape
Paul
me. The
Williams.
first,
Paul Williams.
yeah, Paul Williams, first
Right.
AIA Black architect in California.
Mhm.
So, and that is, I believe, no, Monday night is,
I believe it's in October. I want to say, oh, here we
Right.
go. Here we go.
Right.
Yes, you're right, October 4th.
but if you're interested in architecture, he had just a fabulous career, including the Beverly Hills Hotel, and he did the,
Which was his
The-
writing. Did you know that? I learned that. I was just up there
Yeah,
last weekend.
that's right, the
I
script.
mean, I was just up at,
Mhm.
no, yeah, but I was up at Lon Chaney's cabin,
oh,
which you can only get to by hiking in a mile or 2 in the Sierra Nevadas.
Hmm.
And I'd seen it years ago and I fell in love with it. And this is the second house I've fallen in love with that he says that I didn't know about. Another one was up above the Royal here.
Mhm.
But I was measuring this house. I felt all these patterns happen. I was like, who in the hell did this? It's wonderful. I was just falling in love with it. And then later on, I learned it was him. But twice has happened to me, with
Mm.
that architect that I just
Mhm.
fell in love with,
Yeah.
whoever did this,
well, and he
including Lon
participated,
Chaney's cabin.
right, and then he was a part of the team that designed the restaurant at
The
LAX.
theme restaurant, yeah, which is
And-
bizarre.
And then he did the Batman house
Mhm.
on the Arroyo, which burnt down,
He did a lot.
Yeah.
and
And he
all
never
from,
could go in the Beverly Hills Hotel, could he?
Not until, very late in his career.
Right.
And that's what makes his accomplishments even more significant, is that he did all this bearing the very blatant burden of racism. It was noted in many biographies of him that he was very skilled at drawing upside down.
Most
Right.
architects,
And the reason
nobody talks about it, but.
the reason in this case is because his white clients refused to sit next to him. And so he learned that skill as a way to accommodate their racism. So yeah, just a really seminal architect, great Los Angeles architect, great California architect, great American architect. And it's going to be, I think, a very enlightening program at the library. I'm glad to see it. Thank you for sharing that, Bill.
Yeah.
Chris, do you have anything?
Any longer than it is, but if staff is going to make any report, I wonder if you have any update on the Rialto, if there's any response to our letters, or if that's just further down your list of to-dos.
Well, why don't we hold that until we get to staff comments? Becky, any commission comments? Conrado, okay. I had nothing. So, and I'm assuming there's no comments from subcommittees, okay? The only comment I have as the SPPF liaison is this Sunday, folks, is the Gill Garden Gala, finally, after 2.5 years of pandemic-induced delays. Some of you, I know, are going to be there as guests. Some of you, thank you, Bill, will be there as volunteers helping out. Tickets are still available on our website, and you can go to that, sppreservation.org. We've sold, I think, as of this moment, about 168 tickets. So that exceeded our target, which was 150. It's going to be a great day, live auction, silent auction, gourmet luncheon, and most of all, the Miltimore House open to the public for the first time. So hope to see everybody there on Sunday from 11 to 5. Okay, now we'll take any comments from staff.
Good evening, Chair and Cultural Heritage Commissioners. Regarding the question on the Rialto Theater, they did respond to this letter that we sent earlier this year, probably in the spring sometime. Apologies for not reporting that sooner. They did respond. There is still some work for us to coordinate with them. They have submitted for building permits on some of those renovations that were done. I believe in the basement, either the basement or the mezzanine, and I apologize, I don't remember off the top of my head, but that is absolutely on my to-do list still. And as you all know, we've been trying to get the housing element certified, so that's my next update. I will follow up though on the Rialto Theater. We did today submit the third draft of the housing element to HCD. The public draft was released a week ago. Based on the stipulated court order, HCD has 45 days rather than the 60 days to respond. So I'm looking forward to getting hopefully some good news, fingers crossed, in 45 days. I wanted to take a moment and introduce Mackenzie Goldberg, who is here with us tonight. She is our newest staff member, and you probably noticed her name. She got right into the details here and started working really quickly with us. So we're happy to have Mackenzie as our assistant planner. She started 2 weeks ago, and we continue to recruit. We have the planning countertech position currently available right now or out right now. It closes on the 22nd. So that's also good news for us. We really hope to keep the momentum going and continue with the minutes that are, from a year ago or more, and continue to bring the projects forward. So thank you, Mackenzie. I apologize, I didn't bring her bio with me, but
Where did she go to school, Angelica?
yes, she is a USC graduate.
Yes.
We are very happy to have her. She does have her master's, and let's see, I'm trying to think like what fun fact. I do know that she does like to skateboard, and she's from Los Angeles, so she's native to the area. And again, happy to have her on board. We will be formally introducing her at an upcoming council meeting.
Great. Well, welcome, Mackenzie. Glad to have you on board.
I did want to mention that the city of South Pasadena is hosting an open house on Sunday, October 2nd. That's from 10 to 2. So we invite the community and all of you to come out and join us. Every department will be on hand. We'll have a booth, or us in community development will be inside City Hall, just greeting people, and we'll have some goodies and giveaways for people who come out. And then I actually wanted to mention that the California Preservation Awards are coming up next month, October 20th, which is the date of our next regularly scheduled meeting. So wanted to pose to the commission whether, not sure if any of you are interested in attending or not. But we'll follow up with an email, but wanted to let you all know. I don't know normally whether commissioners attend this on a regular basis or on an annual basis, but the city of South Pasadena is receiving an award for the guidebook on ADUs and historic properties. So, but if the commission would like to keep the meeting as regularly scheduled, we can always attend there's a free virtual presentation on the 27th, so the following week. So, that might be. fun too.
You're not looking for an answer to that question?
No, yeah,
tonight?
no, just
Okay, good.
letting you all know that we will be sending an email to follow up on that, but so think about it. Let me know what you think. And that was all I had for today. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I have a question. Is Jose being let go?
No.
No. Okay, I'd heard that
Mhm.
because he is only working part-time, and I know the city manager isn't crazy about that, but he is our history. He's the only one who's been here through thick and thin. Many city managers, many planners. Yeah. And he's kind of a favorite of all the architects too. Just wanted to put that in.
I second that motion.
He's an excellent staff member. We love having him. City manager does not have an opinion on this matter. This is a department matter. So, yeah, we would,
And thank you. I watched the presentation, the WISPA presentation. And it's amazing you're still standing. What you've been put through is just horrendous. I'm so sorry that it's so screwed up. It's not us specifically, it's kind of a confluence of many things, but it's bizarre what you're being put through. It really
I'm
is.
sorry, Becky, what are you referring to? What presentation?
Do you want to tell them about what your presentation was?
sure, on Monday, I
Oh,
believe.
WISPA.
The-
Oh, okay.
The days meld together. Monday night, we gave a presentation at WISPA, Women Involved in South Pasadena Political Action, for those that may not know. And yes, it's a whole different time. It's a whole different ballgame here with the housing element. I'm a very positive person by nature, and I remain positive that we're going to have a good outcome in 45 days. But the laws that have been recently passed, the housing laws that have been recently passed in the past few years have, it's made it difficult. And I did want to make it very clear, and I hope that I conveyed it on Monday evening, that South Pasadena is committed to affordable housing. There's absolutely no question about that. We want to provide housing for all persons, all residents, all income levels. But we're faced with some challenges. We are an older built out community. And again, the laws that have passed have made it challenging. The way that the SCAG developed the RENA numbers for South Pasadena, but dare I say, not fair? Sure.
I had written you a letter way back when you started, and I don't think you quite understood. I was aware of the consultants that South Pass hired to advise the Planning Commission about where some higher density, taller buildings could be. And it was terribly mishandled, and I have no idea why. It was an unusual situation. The Planning Commission was presented with it, and they were asked to vote right there. Don't think about it. Don't study it. Vote. And they all said, no, we're not going to vote. We can't vote on something we don't understand. And that's why it got shut down. Not because it was a bad idea, but it seems like such a lost opportunity, that it was simply mishandled for some strange, I have no idea why. It was really an unusual situation, but it's really too bad. It could have gone through and it made your job easier, I imagine. But maybe those people could come back again, if that would help, those consultants. So maybe you know more about it than I do, but that was the way it looked watching the situation go down.
Thank you for your comments. That was all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Angelica. So if there's no objection, I will move that we adjourn to the Cultural Heritage Commission regular meeting scheduled for Thursday, October 20th, 2022 at 6:30 PM. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.